Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Stakes. We're doing SEC football power rankings heading into week 2. Hope everybody has had a great holiday weekend. Blake, let's start close to our home in Nashville with the number 14 team, the Vanderbilt Commodores, the only 2-0 team in the SEC, but we haven't seen enough to justify moving up further than the basement just yet, although Vanderbilt certainly looks improved.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about Vanderbilt at this point. They've beaten two teams they should have beaten and put up a lot of points doing so. But as we know, the schedule will get tougher from here. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I think seeing more in the passing game. I know it's Hawaii and Elon. They put up good numbers, but I think you want to see, for me, I want to see how that translates as they play tougher competition, which will begin on Saturday against Wake Forest, and yeah, continue from there, of course, into SEC play. So,
yeah, a little context for Vanderbilt's 53-point win in week 0 is Hawaii got thrashed again at home by Western Kentucky and looking like maybe the worst team in the FBS. So not to throw shade on Vandy's win, but to put it in a little bit of context, I think opponents have helped that 2-0 record a bit. Okay, Missouri checking in at 13. Blake, I watched a lot of Missouri's game last week. Thought the Tigers looked better on defense. Again, I'm not going to make sweeping conclusions because it was Louisiana Tech, but athletically, I thought they were better in the trenches. The Charleston kid from Clemson, I think, makes them better in the secondary. They got better linebacker play from Tyron Hopper. Offense was okay. They've got some weapons there with Luther Burden, but Missouri looks, after week 1, like a team that might be improved, but it is going to be a grind to move up in our power rankings in the SEC this year because the conference is just that good.
yeah, I mean, look, we're doing this from a power ranking standpoint. You know, we've talked about a lot of these, we've talked about all of these games already, but if you're looking at it just from a power rankings perspective, so we got to play somebody 1 through 14, and right now, like you said, I mean, for Missouri, that's going to be the number 13 spot. For Vandy, that's going to be the number 14 spot. It's just where they are at this point compared to the other teams because, again, going into the season, this is where they were placed, and so they've gotten wins, but it's just, I think, again, you want to kind of see how things continue to progress, and um, now for Missouri getting ready for week 2, it's Kansas State. I think we'll learn much more about kind of where they stand. So.
Number 12, the South Carolina Gamecocks, which scored a decisive win over Georgia State in the opener. But this was a week where we really were impressed with the way the SEC played on the whole. One small disappointment, I guess, if you're going to have disappointments, was the way South Carolina's offense didn't move the ball, maybe the way we had hoped. Spencer Rattler was just kind of okay in his debut. But South Carolina blocked 2 punts and returned them for touchdowns. Those count on the scoreboard, just like an 80-yard touchdown pass would. And again, we like South Carolina's team. We like what Shane Beamer has done in just a very short period of time. But it's a brutal league, and we've got the Gamecocks at 12 this week. But I think this is a team with a chance to move up.
Yeah, I mean, reminder, these are our composite power rankings beyond just you and I. We polled our entire staff and we put all these together. And I mean, really, I don't think anyone had South Carolina higher than 11. You know, so I think that's something, just again, that's why they're 12. And I think they were 12 last week too. I think going into week 1, I'm pretty sure we had them at 12. So these, again, these 3 teams are just teams that I think we just look, they're in the East. We wanted to kind of see how things played out. I think they beat Georgia State by more than we talked about. A lot of people were looking at that as a potential upset type game, but they took care of business, win by 3 touchdowns. But sure, I mean, now you've got some things you definitely have to figure out very quickly, knowing you have Arkansas coming up next. So I think it's just watching the offense and seeing how they progress under Spencer Rattler and seeing, you know, can they find that overall consistency. If they can, I don't think there's any doubt South Carolina will keep moving up in our rankings. But as always, if you're going to move up, you got to replace somebody. So that's, again, the nature of the SEC, which, as we talked about in our live stream we did on Sunday night, which I haven't watched that yet. We talked about all the games and just kind of shared our thoughts moving forward. But I mean, it was a great week 1 for the SEC, and you know, when you're comparing a lot of these teams, that's, yeah, there's nothing to be upset about if you're South Carolina. It's just kind of this is where they're slotted. So
Well, it was a great week one for the SEC, except for one team. We didn't talk about them last night because they were playing when we did our video that was recapping week one. That was LSU. What a weird game in the Superdome. LSU was hopelessly going to lose that game. Florida State gift wrapped it for them. LSU scored a touchdown on the final play of regulation, then missed the point after. Just a very undisciplined and uneven performance from LSU. Keyshawn Butte was a non-factor almost the entire night. Ali Gay gets ejected for a targeting call that was obvious. LSU can play a lot better than it did. I could even justify moving South Carolina ahead of LSU based on last night, but we do take a little bit of preseason expectations into context. But anyway, LSU, the lone team in the league to lose so far.
yeah, I don't. I saw a lot of people referring to this as a shocking loss. I don't.
No, it's not
I never got that
shocking, but
thought. I don't know where that came from. I think it's just maybe it's just a buzzword we use and we like to be over dramatic with some of this stuff, but I don't think it's a shocking loss by any means. We said coming to the season it was going to take some time, we thought, for this LSU team to figure some things out, and I said, word inconsistency I think will be a theme for this team early on in the season until you get a really good feel of maybe what's going to work with your roster and what doesn't. And I think that's clear at this point. With Brian Kelly, he's trying to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I know there were probably a lot of people, LSU fans, particularly unhappy with him with some things in that game. But yeah, I don't think LSU by any means was going to be a finished product in week one. And so again, I've seen some people say just how stunned they were that LSU lost this game. I mean, sure, I think we expect them to win, but I can't say I'm stunned at all that they lost because, like I said, we said they were going to have to figure some things out, and they had opportunities early on, in their schedule, and we'll see how it plays out moving forward. But yeah, it's a brutal loss just in terms of how they lost it, but I don't think by any means a brutal loss in terms of the entire season for LSU. I mean, I think they're going to continue to get better, and I think they'll fix some of these things that were not great in their first game, but there's the key word. Like, it's still their first game, and I said before, I just don't think this team is. I know some people had LSU as high as top 5 in the SEC heading the season. I don't think they're there yet. Could they get there?
no.
Absolutely, but they got to fix some things to do so.
Okay, number 10 in our rankings, the Ole Miss Rebels. And again, not a lot of disappointing things in week one. The SEC just was so strong. But I would have liked to seen more of a passing game from Jackson Dart and Ole Miss, but they did play what we have said was a pretty good Troy defense. Ole Miss's defense played really well. We've got the Rebels at 10, which is probably lower than other teams. And again, Ole Miss is going to have the easiest first half schedule in the SEC. There's a lot of time to get better for the Rebels, and I think they'll probably wind up moving up from where they are, although you look at the teams in front of them and you say, where? But in any case, Ole Miss 1-0 like just about everybody else in the league, not named LSU.
Here's the deal with power rankings. How I look at it, I don't want to overreact to one game. I know there's not a ton of stuff in football. Like, you're only playing a certain amount of games. It's not like basketball where you're playing a lot more games and that kind of thing. But still, if a team wins their opening game and they do it, by 18 points or like the Ole Miss did against Troy, like there's no reason for me to just completely send them, down the power ranking. So like they pretty much stayed where I had them heading into it. And like we said, I think we'll be lower on Ole Miss than some people are, just in terms of our composite ranking. Seems like our staff is lower on Ole Miss right now, but we said too, just like we mentioned with LSU, I think the offense is going to be a work in progress. You want to see how the defense continues to get better, but I think there's a lot they can build on coming out of this first game. And we mentioned too, Troy was not an easy opponent. They weren't just going to be. Ole Miss wasn't going to walk into this game and win 58-0 or anything. That was never going to happen. I think just given the setup. So yeah, I think you see a lot of stuff with this running game. I think they're going to certainly lean on that offensively. Um, but yeah, I think, we're kind of used to the passing attack, right? Last year with Matt Corral and all that, it's just going to be it's going to be a different team this year, and I think that's we'll see how it plays out. But the schedule certainly benefits Ole Miss for sure.
Number 9 in our power rankings, the Auburn Tigers. Auburn, kind of what we expected in week 1, not a lot in the passing game, ran the ball well, defense was good. And again, Mercer is a pretty good FBS team. Auburn did about what everybody expected according to the odds makers. I think failed to cover, but it was close. So Auburn number 9 in our power rankings as we enter week 2.
Yeah, same spot we had them last week. Looking at our staff rankings here, I'm going across the board at everyone. Doesn't look like anyone really moved them all that much. I mean, because again, it's one game against Mercer. They did what they had to do. There are some people on our staff that are higher on Auburn than others, and we said I thought coming into the season I would probably be a little bit higher on them than other people, but look, as we mentioned, I just there's only so much you can take away, but I think with Auburn what you're getting a powerful running attack, and everything else I think we'll see play out against better competition. But a week 1 win for Auburn, and yes, I think they're going to wind up being better than this spot because, like we said, there are a lot of people out there. You're looking around at power rankings, they got Auburn 12th or something like that. I just don't think they're the 12th best team. Maybe this is the right range for them right now, but I ultimately think there's a pretty good chance they'll be higher just based on the schedule and the opportunity there. So,
Okay, number 8, the Texas A&M Aggies, who we have
no,
lower in our SEC poll than the
I'm not buying this one,
pollsters
Chris.
have in theirs. Yeah,
I'm
you
not
see.
buying it. I'm sorry. They're not the 8th. I don't know how we got to this point, but we do. Like we said, it's a composite ranking. I'm going to point that out. We've said that before. I did not have Texas A&M anywhere near 8th, and how they got to this point, I have no idea. But I don't know, man. I will see, right? Like I'm sorry to jump in, but I think they're higher than 8th, but
Yeah.
we'll see. So
Want to see more out of quarterback.
I get it. I get that.
And I
I
think
get it.
that's the hesitation. The defense was great. Defense threw a shutout. I want to see a little more offensive consistency. Before we get to the second half of our power rankings, shout out to our sponsor, Stakes. Predict sports, build your track record, earn digital trophies. Get your predictions on the record, predict anything in the game for free, see how you measure up against fans and influencers. Number 2, flex your wins, broadcast your takes to our community of sports fans with just a few taps of your phone, and then earn credibility. Build your public predictions track record by winning competitions and earning NFT trophies for making the perfect call. Go to playwithstakes.com/14. Sign up, use the invite code Southeastern14 for a double welcome bonus. We are creating games every week. Pick them straight up, pick them against the spread. We'll be doing some prop bets for players, but bet against us or bet with us or whatever. Again, it costs you no money, fun game. So help us out by helping our presenting sponsor, Stakes, and have a lot of fun while you're doing it. Okay. The number 7 team, which I'm the high man on, Mississippi State. Thought State looked good in its win over Memphis. Offensively, it was what you would expect, although they ran the ball a little more than we thought. I just have been insistent for a while that I think that experience matters, and I'm probably one that has elevated State in the rankings with where I voted the Bulldogs. But anyway, I didn't see anything in week 1. Maybe would have liked to see the defense give up a few less points, but I just think State is a really solid team this year, and they are number 7 in our countdown.
Yeah, I haven't changed my tune on Mississippi State. I had them at I think 7 the week before. I had them at 8 this week, and that's only because one team jumped up. So yeah, I still think they're, as I said, I think they're the best of that foursome that I've talked about all preseason. With the other 4 teams in the SEC West, I just don't know what to do with, and I ranked them the highest of that group again this week. So yeah, I like this Mississippi State team, and we'll see how they do. As the competition gets better, but I'm I'm a big fan of the experience and the quarterback play, the offense. As we said, the defense is very good. So I think Mississippi State's got a chance to keep rising up our rankings here.
Number 60, Kentucky Wildcats. Good defensive performance, good special teams. Got a kickoff return for 100 yards from their star freshman receiving recruit. Would have liked to see more on the ground. Kentucky really did not turn in a very good rushing performance with Chris Rodriguez Jr. out. But Kentucky, a solid 6 in our rankings. We're getting to that tier of number 2 team in the SEC, and everybody's got different opinions between 3 teams. And as a composite, we slotted Kentucky in the 6th overall spot this week.
Yeah, I mean, once they get Rodriguez back, their running game will be fine, as we know. I thought it was, a pretty solid win. We talked about against a Miami of Ohio team that offensively put up some numbers last year, had a lot of guys coming back. Kentucky holds them to 13. And I I still think that they're, again, we've said it many times with Kentucky. Like I just think that they're going to be a good team. I don't know if they, reach that top 3 or anything like that, join the mix behind Georgia and Alabama, but I think they're going to be a good team and they're going to have a chance to beat pretty much everyone on their schedule, and that's all you can ask for. I think they're set up very nicely with the way things are on offense and defense. So, yeah, a week 1 win, and now, they pick up a bigger challenge against the team that has certainly moved up the highest, Chris, in our
Yeah.
rankings, and deservedly so, in the Florida Gators.
Well, and if you're a Kentucky fan sitting out there watching, saying, hey, wait, we should be ahead of Florida, you'll have your chance this week. And again, we've got the Gators at 5 this week. Florida scored the biggest win in the SEC in terms of who they beat. Utah was a preseason college football playoff contender by a number of people. Pick Six Previews actually had Utah in the college football playoff, which, not dogging them, I think that was a reasonable pick. But point being that was a huge win for Florida in Billy Napier's debut.
Yes, it absolutely was, and I said on our live stream, I am willing to admit when I am wrong, and I just thought it would take Florida much longer to kind of be in a position to win a game like that. I didn't think they would be able to do it right off the bat, but they did, and you give them all the credit for that. Um, yeah, I can't. I said it. I mean, even if you, which it's hard to do, but if you just take what Florida did and kind of sit the opponent to the side, watching Florida. I just thought there was so much to like, and yes, that all starts with Anthony Richardson, but I just thought there were so many things that you take away from that game. And again, if you were already optimistic on them, or if you were like us, I mean, like I said, our power rankings composite, our staff was not very high on Florida last week, as we know. I mean, they were way down there, and I don't think it's overreacting just to move them up this far. And look, that wasn't just like I said, you and I moving them up our rankings. That's a lot of other people too. And yeah, I thought that it was just, man, I don't think you could have asked for a better situation for Florida, and feeling like you've got the quarterback that's going to lead the way here. And there's just a lot of other stuff I think you look at with this Florida team, and yeah, a lot more optimism for me about the Gators, because I just think that they are further ahead than I thought they'd be after week 1. So,
Well, when you say down there, we'll clarify this if you're watching this for the first time. We have said over and over, not a lot of difference between 3 and 12 in the SEC. So you might be down the list, but there's not a lot to separate you
yeah, look,
from the
Florida
other
was
teams.
11th last week for our in
Right,
our like
right.
I said,
That's
if you
what I'm
didn't
saying.
watch
They
our
might have
yeah,
been low on the list, but I didn't
right.
see a lot of difference between them and the teams in front of them.
Yep.
And you could say that about any of these teams. So
Yep.
Tennessee remains at 4. Nothing that really changed my mind about the Vols in their win over Ball State. The offense clicked on all cylinders. They had, 30 something, 40 points at half. The defense, I thought, played pretty well. You know, I didn't see anything that really moved my opinion on the Vols one way or the other, and that's basically the way our staff felt on the whole.
Yep. One of my bets of the week, and yeah,
You
I
nailed it.
thought
They had that almost by halftime.
I was gonna say you could tell in what 2 plays into the game, like I hate to say it, like the game was over 2 plays into the game. Interception on the first
Yeah.
play, Tennessee scores a touchdown on the second play. Like it just, yeah, you could tell that it was going to be one of those games for Tennessee. And yeah, my opinion on them has not changed. I told you I had them. I think it was, yeah, like my top four has not changed, and I think you'll see our composite top four hasn't changed overall. So it seems to be kind of where everyone stands, although not everyone. But yeah, this is right where I had Tennessee slotted heading into the season, and yeah, I think their offense is going to be so good, and like we said, their defense doesn't have to be perfect. Their offense is going to be good enough to bail them out in a lot of situations. And again, competition will get tougher this week against Pitt. That will be a very fun game. I think it should be one of the more entertaining games of the week, just given the style there for both. But I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, number 3 remains the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas scored probably the third best win in the league this week, beating Cincinnati at home in a game that turned out almost exactly the way the odds makers had forecast. Arkansas got a couple of big picks from its secondary and remains in the number 3 spot. Again, Arkansas was about what we felt it would be in week 1.
Yep, for sure. And that's the thing. I say this all the time. Like, these rankings are what they are 1 week into the season. They're just, it's just us trying to place teams. And like you said, look at how small the difference is between the teams that are, whatever in your rankings. There's such a, we said in the season, there's just so little that could separate a lot of these teams. And I think, you know, again, these rankings are what they are. But like, if you're asking, like you said, you have to look at what Arkansas accomplished against a team like Cincinnati and feel like, okay, these were my expectations of Arkansas going into the season. That didn't really change at all after that game. Because we said KJ Jefferson's going to be able to lead them. He's going to be able to make plays that are going to lead them to a lot of wins, just in terms of what he can do. And that was the case there. Look at what Sanders did. I mean, it's just, I think this was the kind of win you wanted to see from Arkansas. Like we said, Cincinnati, cuts it to a touchdown there late, but I think this is what you want to see from Arkansas. And yeah, my opinion on them hasn't changed. I think that this is a team that is set up to have a very good season. Although, like we said, their schedule is not easy, but hey, you get one tough game out of the way in week 1. Now you feel like you got all that confidence moving forward into now getting ready for an SEC game against South Carolina on Saturday.
Okay, if we did power rankings just based on what we saw
Yes.
in week 1, our number 2 would be our number 1, but we are sticking with, we think our preseason observations matter some too, and for that reason, Georgia 2 with Alabama 1. In either case, if you were looking for anything to budge your opinion down on either of these teams in week 1, boy, if you found it, let us know, because we didn't see it.
Here's the deal. Georgia's the defending national champions. Alabama's chasing Georgia. And especially, like I said, after week 1, there was no team as impressive as Georgia, given the quality of the opponent. But it is one of those things where it's like, this is where you get into rankings and you're just like, why do we have to do this stuff? Like, it's just because, like we said, it's 1A and 1B. Like, there is no 1-2 here. Like, it's 1A, 1B. Alabama and Georgia are the 2 best teams in the country. There you go. Like, sorry to all the other teams that are ranked around them, but they are the 2 best teams in the country, and you can put them anywhere you want them in whatever order you want to put them in. You're not going to get a lot of argument from me, because I just think that they are both so talented. And like we said, I mean, some people may look at the Alabama Utah State game and say, all right, 55-0, that's expected, but it's how Alabama did it, right? Like, they're
Yeah.
up 41-0 at halftime, and like, they could have been up more. Like, it's one of those things where I think you have to look at that and just be like, once again, these are 2 special, dominant teams. Yes, Georgia's was the most impressive of anyone's in the country, given just how they decimated Oregon. For a lot of people, a potential top 10 team, started the season at number
Mhm.
11. But I also think it's like, like I said, you can put these 2 in either order. I'm not going to get upset about it, because I think that they are 1A and 1B, and I would have them on the same plane heading into whatever. But it's just like we said, somebody's going to be 1 through 14, and it is what it is. But these 2 are on a different level.
Well, look, Utah State, a well-coached team, it won 10 games a year ago. It had no chance as soon as the ball was kicked off, and that's how good Alabama is this year. I think the SEC championship game it could end up being an all-timer. I mean, that's kind of stupid to say. It's a long way away, but given what we know about Georgia and Alabama, it is really hard for me to imagine any two teams other than these two in the top spot at season's end. I guess A&M would be the team that raises its hand and says, give us a shot based on talent, but that team also not nearly as established as the top two in terms of what they've got.
Well, schedule is important too, and like we said, scheduling wise, there's some interesting games for both Alabama and Georgia. Alabama's got to go to Tennessee. There's some games like that we've talked about before in our schedule. Just kind of circling them. Alabama's got to go to Arkansas. They've got that home game against A&M. It's not an easy schedule by any means, but yeah, I'm 1A, 1B. That's maybe we need to revise because I don't think there's any way we could put 1-2. Like we just going forward. Every time I send you my list, Chris, I'm going 1A, 1B, Alabama, Georgia. We can take that for what we want, but there's no way I can rank one second at this point. Like I just think that they are on a different level. Just my opinion.
Are you running for office?
No, but I listen. Look in basketball. I don't do this right. Like I will try to give you my clear number one, number two, but this is different. So
All right. Well, thank you to everybody for watching. We've got plenty more coming. We're going to preview every week 2 game. We've already got some of those up on our channel, so be sure and check those out. Be sure to visit our sponsor, Steaks. You'll have fun with that. You'll thank us later. So anyway,
first Steak, is he here? Steak
he's
been
not
jumping in.
here.
He's
He
got
did
to
not
be on
jump in on
Steaks
the
then, right?
live stream last night. He better be.
He's got to be on. Steak is on Steak, so everybody else got to be on Steaks.
Absolutely. All right, for Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with more power rankings and, of course, lots of content coming this week. Be sure to catch our live stream on Wednesday night. Those are lots of fun. You can jump in, ask us questions, give us a hard time about our rankings, whatever you like. We welcome you to come. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.